GCO products and GCO's plant. Let's clap our hands. Welcome our third presenter, Mrs. Luiza. She's a research and market intelligence coordinator from Greener. Luiza has a degree in international relations and economics from RICAP and a master's in energy from UFABC. She has experience in financial auditing of electricity distribution and transmission complaints, as well as in research and the development R&D and energy efficiency projects. At Greener, she is responsible for the research and market intelligence area, where she develops strategic studies and consultancy for the renewable market, especially for the solar market. Clap our hands. Let's kick off your presentations, Luiza. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Let me share my presentation.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
You can talk about in Portuguese, no worries.
Tá bem. Vocês estão vendo no modo de apresentação já?
Can you see my screen?
Ainda não, Luiza.
Não?
Not in presentation mode.
Agora estão?
Sim.
Can you see it now?
Legal. Bom, boa noite a todos. Primeiramente, quero agradecer o convite, para participar desse webinar. É bastante importante.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the invitation to participate on this webinar. Very important. My name is Luiza. I'm part of the research team at Greener. I will tell you a little bit more about Greener on the next slide. I think I'm having some problems with my slides. If you don't know us, we are a company of strategy and data. Greener started in 2007. It's exclusive for distributed generation, and it has been supporting entrepreneurs and investors to find the best opportunities to leverage results. We do with insights of content, accessorizing, and digital tools. This data we will bring today about the GD market basically comes from a study that we do with many market researchers, with many actors, from consumers, from producers to final consumers, to monitor different data for price behavior, market demand. We have a very broad analysis. If you want to download the study, you can point your phone to the QR code. Starting here, I have a slide for the overview of solar energy in the world, so we can see how Brazil is cracked. I have the 2020 representation because 2021 hasn't been done. We have an estimate from Bloomberg, and reaching a potence of 183 gigawatts. We have the biggest one in Asia, driven by China. We know that. Second place, we have Europe, driven by Germany. North America in third place. And lastly, we have South America. And it has grown in the rank. We're going to see that. We have data of solar energy in Brazil. We reached 13.2 gigas of installed potency, and GD represents about 65% of all installed capacity. And you can see that throughout the years, distributed generation will increase its capacity throughout the period. In 2017 is 16.8, and now we have 60.3%. And we have the potency of installed network. In 2019, we have 3.9, and now we have 8.6 giga. Talking a little bit about installation numbers of connected networks, we have 804,000 installations and over 1 million of credit receiving units. And now we can understand a little bit of the profile. We are broadening this a little bit more with photovoltaic installations and credit receiving units that not necessarily have a local generation. We are seeing a little bit more of the remote consumption with different proportions, with 15% of the accumulated numbers. Shared generation has 1%. And now I have a little bit of the profile of those installations. Who are the main installations profile? The added profile per year, they are adding to homes and reducing a little bit in 2021 with 27%. We understand this is an impact of the pandemic partially because of the decrease of commercial activities. People are working from home, they stay home more. And the second factor is the electricity bill. It's increasing and it's making the cost for the energy much higher. And this is onerating for the final consumer. So they are looking for generated distribution as really an economy. In the States, we have this distribution of added value in 2021, concentrating in 5 states. 54% of all the DG market is concentrated in Minas, São Paulo, and Rio Grande do Sul, Mato Grosso, and Santa Catarina, being led by Minas Gerais. They are in the rank as the first states of the states that receive installations of generated distribution. And this is due to some tax factors regarding compensation of credits. This makes the ROI to be more attractive in Minas than other regions. And talking a little bit about demand on these installations, we should talk a little bit more about the modules as well, buying the modules. I have a little bit of a cold and my voice might be a little bit hoarse, so I'm sorry, but let's go. And we have that photovoltaics modules that we monitor a lot at Greener. It's one of the main indicators. I will show you the platform that monitors that. In 2021, we reached 9.7 gigas of imported modules. And the biggest advance in the 4th trimester, and the total volume is 104% in 2020. So it's a huge speed increase we are watching. With about an estimate of Greener represents a lot of the demand in 2021, and that's a great advance for Brazil. In 2017, we estimated to be 0.9% of the world demand. And Brazil is inserted in the market now, more and more. We are now showing a little bit of the profile of the technology that is imported and how we imagine that. the monoperks dominate the market. In the fourth trimester, they had 66% of imports. And now for the inversors, we have a trend of incrementing imports of inversors with the modules. Just as an attention point that we did not consider December, data is up to November. That's why it's a little bit smaller in the fourth trimester, but it is with the same behavior. And we have an increase of 130%. Now we have a little bit of the technology of the inversors and highlighting the potencies over 50 kilowatts. We have the total of imports of distributed and centralized. It's not just DG. And here we have the Greendex, our market intelligence platform, where we monitor the market, inversors, market, and modules. And we have the main indicators as prices, technologies, the main brands. We have a series of data that will lead to better results for the investors. If you want to know, you can visit our website. Talking about prices, we have a little bit of our market research. This research contemplated over 3,000 integrators that answered that survey. We have all the correspondence of this research we do. And the conclusions we reached is that the price of the photovoltaic system had in January of 2022 an increment of an average increment regarding January 2022. That was 8%. And this average of 8% was driven by the prices of the kits. There was an increase in 14% of photovoltaic kits, especially because of the modules. The cost of the module, the FOB price, was much bigger than 14%, 26-28% regarding the previous year. And this cost is softened by the ex-tariffary regime, special regime in Brazil, and that increases the prices of the module. Another factor to soften that, it's the part that is absorbed by the distributor and not passed on to the final consumer. And then we can see that in this price structure, the parcel of integration services has been reduced about 9%. We observed the costs by the integration chain, and we also saw a huge enter of new players in the sector. This high competition has a drop of prices. And the monitoring we are doing, we have a different profile for the players. Those are players that are connected. We have younger people that understand better the process of digitalization, automation, and all of that influences in the operational capacity. And that can influence in the prices of the system. Those are factors that we identify that softened the prices of the modules. Those prices are a little bit more detailed if you want to see them more deeply. And we have a more broadened perspective looking into the historic side. Although prices have increased in the final consumer In the last 5 years, we have a huge progress regarding solar generation. The price we monitored was 877 reais, and now it's 516. Huge reduction throughout the years. And it's important to understand this price is still very attractive to the final consumer. Because in Brazil, we have some factors that make the system to be more attractive regarding revenue. We have a positive payback, very positive payback because of the increasing electricity. Just going to my final thoughts, we have the increase of the power bill perspective for 2022 of 21 to 2% regarding ANL. And that makes the investment to be still attractive to the final consumer. For 2022, we have a perspective of increase to recover from the investments we saw last year. I think the FOB prices will decrease a little. We have two factors of the payback, the return of investment, that are very favorable in Brazil in 2022. Of course, we have a huge crisis, war, we're watching that. We need to understand what the impact will be in the power sector and logistics sector, international logistics as well. And let's monitor that for the next weeks, next months, and next years. And the approval of Law 14300, that brings more stability and previsibility when approving the legal framework. More stability for the sector. And a special attention for 2022. We understand this will be a year that will heat up the market. We're going to have a change on compensation criteria 12 months after the legal framework. So many investors will want to install those panels to assure their right, especially on remote generation, with the approval of legal framework. I commented about FOB price. We understand there's going to be a drop on that. And all those uncertainties of the international market in the context that we are living today. And some changes on the fiscal side that can bring some uncertainty for the next trimesters. Those are important attention points on this positive and promising scenario for 2022. I want to reinforce the idea to be attentive to market data so our decisions can be based on data, so we can anticipate some situations that could be an obstacle for the market. I guess that's it. I wanted to bring lots of things, but we don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the prices and now how generated distribution has behaved throughout this history. Any questions? I'm available.
Thank you so much, Luiza, for your exciting presentations.